Hi, I'm Jill Nicholson, a psychotherapist and an ex-emotional eater who has lost and kept off 120 pounds. When I was researching emotional eating, I got curious about women who don't struggle with food or weight. I wanted to learn how they think, how they eat, and what makes their relationship with food so different from what my relationship was then. It isn't about comparison, it isn't about perfectionism, it's about learning. And I discovered 14 habits that set them apart, and they changed my relationship with food completely. I'm here to share them with you one at a time. If you've ever felt trapped in the emotional eating cycle, you're not broken. There is another way, and it starts with awareness. See, the first habit of naturally slim women who've never battled with food is that they eat when they're physically hungry. They don't eat out of habit, they don't eat because it's time to eat. They tune in and connect to their body, to their physical hunger. And when they've had enough to eat, when they're satisfied, they stop. They stop before they're overfull, and they really tune in to the fullness cues within their body. So next time you're sitting down to have a meal, just take a moment to gauge how hungry are you? How physically hungry are you? And halfway through your meal, ask yourself, how full am I? Let's get back in tune with the body signals and with these fullness cues. Habit 2 of women who have never battled food. For them, no food is off limits. They just naturally make more balanced food choices. So what this means is they don't resist, like, I'm never gonna have cake again, ever. But also they don't rebel, like, I will eat as much cake as I want. So they don't do either of those two extremes. They have a midpoint, a balance point, where they just make more balanced food choices connected to their physical hunger. Habit number 3 of women who do not battle with food and their weight. They do not eat in secret. I used to sneak food. I used to hide food. I used to hide the wrappers of food. And when I ate in secret, I ate really quickly. I didn't notice what I was eating. I ate with shame. I ate with guilt. And because I did it so fast, it was almost like it hadn't happened. It didn't matter. It didn't count. Food is to be acknowledged and to be savoured. Women who don't battle with food are really present when they're eating. They notice what they're eating. So next time, if you're having some chips or crisps, put them in a bowl. Notice what you're going to eat. Savour every bite and eat with intention. Bring that eating out of the dark and into the light. Stop eating in secret. See you next time for the next habit. Habit number 4 of women who have never battled with food or their weight. They don't attach emotions to food. Food is not their therapist, it's not stress relief, it's not comfort. Food is emotionally neutral. Naturally balanced eaters don't feed their emotions. They feel their emotions. Food is not an anaesthetic. So next time you're feeling something big and you are feeling like you're going to emotionally eat, get a bit of paper, do a brain dump, write down exactly what you're feeling, find out what is underneath the need to emotionally eat, because in doing that you start to interrupt the pattern of emotional eating, and that is such a brilliant place to start. See you next time for habit number 5. Bye. Habit number 5 of women who have never struggled with their weight, and it's my favourite habit. Emotional eaters, when offered something like cake, tend to imagine how it's going to taste. They start to imagine the flavour and the texture in their mouth. And what then happens is some dopamine, that reward hormone, is activated, and it makes it even harder to say no. Whereas Women who are naturally balanced eaters, they just check in with their stomach, they just check in with their fullness, and if they've just had lunch, they're just going to say no thank you, and that's the end of story. So if you are offered some cake or some sort of yummy and you catch yourself imagining what it's going to taste like, stop that imagining, stop that fantasizing, pull it back, drop into your body, I'm hungry. See you next time. Bye. Habit number 6 of women who have never battled with food. They do not rerun old food rules. Now, we all have rules about all sorts of things that we learned when we were a child, and we just keep replaying them even without knowing they're completely unconscious. So as a child, did you hear clean your plate? So if you don't clean your plate, you're not going to get any dessert, you're not going to get any pudding. You see, that goes in and it replays completely unconsciously. We don't know what's happening, we just do it. So if you're somebody who finds it hard not to finish your plate, if that feels bad, it's time for you to make up your own rules. So what I'd say to you is the next meal you have, leave even one fork full of food on the plate. You decide your rules. You decide how you're going to eat. I'll see you next time. Bye for now. Habit number 7 of women who have never battled with food. They are not compelled to eat if they are triggered by the sight of a food, like a sticky toffee pudding, or the smell of food, like passing a bakery and smelling bread. They will always make the decision on whether they've eaten, whether they're physically hungry or not. Whereas for me in the past, if I saw or I smelled certain foods, I would be compelled to eat them. So here's what you do. Next time that you are triggered by a food, decide on this occasion not to have it, okay? Knowing all the while that you can have it next time. If you do that every second time you're triggered by the sight or the smell of food, what you're doing is you are rewiring your noggin. So just start there. See you next time. Bye. Habit number 8 of women who've never struggled with food. They eat mindfully. Now, I know this is said so often and actually it can be a bit annoying, can't it? But there is actually a real point to this, because if you're eating when you're scrolling or you're watching something, you're not seeing the amount you eat. Your brain, your eyes, you're not registering the quantity, a bit like when we get into trance-like eating. So take the distractions out of it, slow the eating down, and you see, we need to give our bodies time for the message from our stomach to get to our brain to say we're full. So slow down your chewing by half if you can, chew double the amount, slow your eating down, and just really notice what you're having and savor it. I'll see you next time. Bye for now. Habit number 9 of women who've never battled with food. They see food as an act of self-love and nourishment. When you have a balanced relationship with food, eating becomes self-care, not guilt, not restriction or escape. You choose foods that nourish and energize you, not because you should, but because you value how they make you feel. This doesn't mean every meal is perfect or treats are off the table. It means making choices with kindness and with intention, not shame, not restrictive rules, listening to your body rather than outside pressures of maybe a stressful day. For those healing from emotional eating, this shift can be life-changing. When food is an expression of self-care, not coping, eating becomes peaceful, more peaceful and empowering, a way to honour yourself. I'll see you next time for habit number 10. Bye for now. Habit number 10 of women who have never struggled with food. For them, food is not a friend, it's not a punishment, it's what we make it mean. Let's be honest, food is just food. It's not a therapist, it's not a soulmate, it can't fix heartbreak, and it doesn't define our self-worth. But for many of us, we give it those roles. You see, food has no agenda. It doesn't judge, it doesn't reward, it doesn't punish. It's simply fuel, nourishment and enjoyment. It is the meaning that we give it that makes all the difference. When food stops standing in for comfort or for control, we create space for healing. It becomes just one part of life, not the thing that runs it. So imagine letting go of the guilt, eating when you're physically hungry and moving on. No spirals, no shame, just peace with food and yourself, because food was never meant to be a burden. It was only ever meant to be nourishment. I'll see you next time. Bye for now. Habit number 11 of women who have never battled with food. It's a phrase, I deserve this, when we reach for food, not from physical hunger, but from stress, from exhaustion or emotional overwhelm. It's a voice we may know. Food is familiar, is comforting, a quick fix to reclaim a little bit of peace in a tough moment. But what you truly deserve goes far beyond a biscuit or a slice of cake. You deserve rest, you deserve support, you deserve a space to breathe and care that truly restores you, not just distracts you. Your worth isn't tied up in what you eat. It isn't earned through good choices or lost through indulgence. Next time that little voice says, I deserve this, try responding with, yes, I do. What would truly support me right now? Maybe it is still a treat, but maybe it's a nap, putting a boundary in place, or some quiet time. Deserving more isn't about denying food, it's about expanding what care really means. See you next time. Bye. Habit number 12 of women who have never battled with food, and it might surprise you. These women do not overeat because of the rules they have, or they have such brilliant willpower. They stop eating when they're full because they can't bear the feeling of being stuffed, of being over full. It's uncomfortable, it's not satisfying. Your body is saying, okay, I've had enough now, or maybe it's getting towards that's too much. Overeating for them does not feel like a reward. It feels like a mismatch with what our body needs. And it's having that quiet body awareness, that confidence, that helps us get in tune with that signal. So if you're getting to about 3/4 full, it is almost time to stop eating. I'll see you next time. Bye. Habit number 13 of women who have a peaceful relationship with food. They don't fall into the trap of black and white thinking, of all or nothing thinking. Oh, I had that biscuit, so I might as well have the whole packet. They don't fall into that. They know a biscuit is just a moment. It's not a moral failure. You know, if you're driving and you go down the wrong road, what do? You drive down the road, you turn around and you come back and you get back on the right road. Or maybe you reverse. Okay, so if you have had a blip and it is just a blip, reverse, get back on the right road. It's not a moral failure, it's not a fault, it is purely a blip. I'll see you next time for the next habit. Bye. Habit number 14 of women who have never battled with food. Food is not the centre of their universe. Food is part of life. But also, their headspace is not taken up about thinking about food, what they want to eat, what they shouldn't eat. That doesn't happen. And often we emotional eaters, we can get into habitual thinking that is always going on in the back of our heads, that thinking about food, those judgments about food. And so start changing those thoughts. If you're thinking, oh, I wish I'd had this, or I want to have this, replace it with something else, even something mundane. The book you're reading, you need to put the washing on. Replace it with another thought, because it starts to interrupt the cycle of habitual thinking about food. Shift that mindset. That's the last of the 14 habits. Take good care. So that's the 14 habits of women who have never battled with food finished. I hope that you've enjoyed it. They're small habits, but they can change everything about the way we see food and the way that we see ourselves. So take one habit per week and weave it into your life. And please, please, please stop being so harsh on yourself. You, like me, will have become an emotional eater for a reason, but it is changeable. And to do that, you need two components. You need the new habits. You need to take those on gradually. And you also need to work out what the trigger is for your emotional eating. When you have those two components together, you've got it cracked. And if I can do it, lose 120 pounds and keep it off, anybody can. I'm sending you so much love. Bye-bye.